I want to welcome you and thank you for joining us for this third webinar in the series as we seek to build awareness on and promote the National Workplace Wellness Policy. My name is Donna Barker, and I am the Acting Senior Health Promotion Officer in the Ministry of Health and Wellness and a member of the National Committee on Workplace Wellness, where I serve on the Promotion and Awareness Subcommittee. The National Workplace Wellness Committee oversees the coordination of and the implementation of the National Workplace Wellness Policy. The National Workplace Wellness Policy for Barbados, officially approved by the Cabinet of Barbados in 2019 under the aegis of the Ministry of Labour, was conceptualized by Mr. Orlando Gabby Scott, former Assistant General Secretary of the Barbados Workers' Union, and authored by Professor Dwayne Devonish of the University of the West Indies. In recognition of the significant rise in health issues related to lifestyle choices in Barbados and its impact on the workforce, the National Workplace Wellness Policy emphasizes the importance of a comprehensive strategy that promotes overall well-being in the workplace and the need to adopt a holistic approach using the 9 dimensions of wellness. This approach is essential for enhancing the quality of life, productivity, and harmony among Barbadian workers. Today, we will focus on intellectual wellness, one of the 9 dimensions of wellness, which speaks to the importance of continuous learning, creativity, and intellectual engagement. Our presenter for today is Mr. Akeem Rudder, who is the Adaptive Sports Director of I Include You Sports Academy. Mr. Akeem Rudder is a disability advocate, exercise therapist, and the founder of I Include You Sports Academy, which is the first and only inclusive sports and exercise therapy program of its kind in Barbados and the Caribbean. He's known for pioneering play-based exercise therapy for individuals with autism, Down syndrome, cerebral palsy, and other developmental and physical disabilities. His work emphasizes movement as a tool for empowerment, cognitive development, and emotional wellness. Akeem's leadership and impact have earned him national recognition, including a National Youth Award for his contribution to disability inclusion through sport and health. He has also delivered capacity building programs and inclusive education training across the region, including St. Vincent and the Grenadines. His graduate studies in public health focused on the links between developmental movement delays and long-term health outcomes in children with autism. His work blends research with real-world solutions that promote equity in health and education. Very interesting bio. So, Mr. Akeem Rudder, at this time, I turn over to you.
Hi, good morning. Thank you for that introduction, Miss Barker. And I just want to say good morning to everyone. And it's a pleasure to be here to speak to you this morning on a very interesting topic. This topic is in line with the work that I do, and I will share more from my perspective and try to help you guys to shape your minds around intellectual wellness. And especially in the times that we're living in right now, intellectual wellness is at the forefront of everything that we do. We are in a space now where we have a lot more demands placed on us. We have a lot more information at our fingertips, and is how best we can use it to to collaborate and innovate at the highest level possible within the departments in which we work. I just want to start off the presentation or the conversation that we will have today. And it's just for me to get to learn the group that I'm speaking to. And I always like to start by doing this simple activity. And we'll use the chat. Some persons can unmute if you want to unmute and tell me your answers to this question. But I want to know about the most interesting place you've ever been to. It could be a country, it could have been a conference, it could be a place in Barbados, for example. But think of that time, think of that place, and I want you to tell me about how that shaped or reshaped your thinking. I could give you a personal example. Traveling abroad kind of opened my perspective to what is possible. And without traveling beyond Barbados, just in this example, I was not, or I wouldn't have been able to reshape my thinking and to think like outside of the box in terms of creating my academy. And I just want you guys to think of that, share something with me so we can have a bit of a dialogue before we dive into the presentation today. So think about the most interesting place you've been to. As I said, it could be somewhere that you traveled, and just share something about it and how that kind of changed your perspective or thinking. It could be as it relates to work, as it relates to life, any area of improvement. Again, you could type in the chat, or you can unmute and just share with me quickly. India, okay. Should be thinking about societal harmony and wellness and equity among people. That's beautiful. Fabian, you want to unmute and share a bit more about that? That's very interesting. I'd like to hear about that.
Yeah, hi, morning, colleagues. Fabian here from Barbados National Standards Institution. I happened to go to India not by choice. It was part of training for this job because what we do has to be taught on the job. It's not taught in schools, universities, professional institutions. So I spent 3 months in India. Obviously, had to immerse myself in the culture, etc. But what you would find there, unlike Barbados, where we are more familial, where we are more looking out for our neighbor, in India is not like that at all. You have big gaps between people in terms of classes. Yes, they have classism or class issues there, and that's part of their culture. And because of that, you tend to find persons who are well off, who are doing well in their homes, in their guarded communities, and right outside their gate are people living in abject poverty, right? It's quite heartbreaking to see this type of thing, including small children on the road just begging for food or coins to just to live for the day. So you have a country that has vast resources, great in innovation, industrious, but yet in terms of society, the harmony is not there. The wellness is not there, the equity is not there, and that was to me that was an eye opener. I couldn't fathom a place like this to be like that based on what natural resources and human resources it has. But yeah, it opened my thinking to how the societies are completely different based on where they're located and historical natures, etc.
Okay, thanks for that, Fabian. I agree. Sometimes we look at these countries, and as you said, from the outside, we can see the glitz and the glamour, but when we get into the actual environment, we see how different it can be. And I think too, in our society, we, as you said, we're very community-based, right? And you see when you travel how it could become everyone on their own or for themselves kind of environment. And here, I always say in Barbados or in the Caribbean, we have a real luxury in that we can call or get support from persons around us. And it's something that is not a norm. It's not a norm in the, I would say, more developed countries. Okay, so we have the Stacia. Could you tell me about this one? Is it Frida? Help me with the pronunciation. Frida Kahlo Museum.
Hi, yes, Frida Kahlo Museum. She has been You can see me on two different devices because one doesn't have audio.
Okay.
She has been one of my favorite artists from a child. I did my CXC project on her. And anyone who knows her life would have known that she had polio as a child. So then she had trouble with her feet, one being smaller than the other. But when she was on her way to university, she was involved in a trolley accident, and it was a really horrific accident that shaped the course of her life going forward, because she would have had been unable to bear children despite multiple pregnancies. She would have had a lot of miscarriages, etc. But this did not daunt her from living her life to the fullest. She was, outside of an artist, an activist. She was married, troublesome marriage, but she was married. And it said that he had a lot of affairs, but she had a lot of affairs too as well. And she accomplished so much despite all of the different setbacks. And sometimes we think that some things are so hard or so impossible. But when we see someone who has come from so far behind physically and mentally with all the things that she has gone through, to rise and to enjoy life as much as she could, she enjoyed life to the fullest. Being just in her space was a dream come true for me in Mexico. And it just was like motivation to do better going forward.
Okay, that's some really good insights, Stacey. Thank you so much. And I work predominantly with persons with disabilities, and I see how they overcome and what they achieve every single day. And it's something, and I'm glad you use it as motivation, because it's an area that, you know, a lot of times people have to go through, we all have to go through undue hardships and stuff. But I think when we look at the situation as we can go beyond and we can do way more than what society may have us marked down to be. And even within the workplace, you know, having the motivation and the mindset of going further, trying to do more, trying to be better than before. I think that is some of the things that we definitely need to cultivate. And especially, as I said earlier, in the times where we have so much information at our fingertips, that continuous learning, you know, pushing the barrier of what we know in the workplace. I think being motivated enough to kind of go beyond what you already know, and you could start at a position, and you know, you just have that drive as Frida, is it Frida? Yeah, as Frida did, to continuously push herself forward despite of. So thanks for that, Stacia. And Veronica Curtin. Yeah, I've been to the Harrison's Cave, but I've never done the eco tour. So please share that, and then we will move forward. Thank you so much, Veronica. Could you?
Hello, good morning. You can hear me?
Yes, clear.
Okay, good morning to everyone. Yes, that was a tour that we would have done in 2018. And actually how I came to do that tour was watching the program that Sherwood McCaskey would have done on Harrison's Cave, The Forgotten Treasure. And going through that and being able to see things up close and walk through and so on and so forth, it just made me aware of the natural beauty of God's creation, and it caused me to even look at other things even more closer. That is a tour that, if persons ask me where is one of the places you would recommend, that is one that I would recommend all the time, the tour. Yeah.
Okay, thank you for that. And I could imagine when you were going through some of those areas, you know, I bet it was a bit challenging at some points. It's something that I definitely want to do. So I'm happy that you recommended it also.
Yes, there was one particular point where we were crawling through a tunnel, and it was just as wide as you were, so you really had to inch your way through, and it seemed like it went on forever. But yeah, it was a good experience. It was exciting to do.
Yeah, on a normal day, if somebody said, Veronica, let's go crawling through a tunnel, I bet you wouldn't be as open to it. You know, but you can say that you did it and you were able to achieve it. So thank you for sharing. Mrs. Barker, I do not have the ability to share my screen, so the admin for the call will need to give me that flexibility to share.
Okay, let me
Well,
check.
yeah, no problem. So while we're waiting, again, thanks for that. I will also share again about a particular experience for me. Yeah, traveling, as I said, I was able to think beyond the box. My background is in sports science education, and now I am completing my graduate degree in public health. And all of this started from traveling. You know, I played hockey professionally overseas for a while, and being able to live in different countries really opened my mind to different things. And in my last year of my bachelor's, I designed a program, and this program, I had no idea it would work. I thought it was just fiction in my mind, and it became an idea today. So is this the way how we frame our mind around different experiences, how we use different experiences to motivate us, and sharing in forums like this, especially at work, it helps to bring the dynamism in different perspectives, right? Because all of us sitting at the table, if we're more aware of each person's strong point, when it comes to brainstorming, when it comes to collaborating, I know Stacy is really good in this area because of certain experiences she may have. And I know that Veronica, for example, has grit and determination, you know, because of certain experiences she may have had. So using the tools that we have based on our experiences could really help us to really foster a really encouraging environment in the workplace, and helping us to share in a way that we pull on each other's strengths, and each voice is heard in a way that brings value, and it helps us to create a culture that focuses more on what this topic is really about, intellectual wellness, and helping us to be able to move the organization forward in a way that we all can benefit. Were you able to get on to the person, Mrs. Barker?
Unfortunately, no. I thought the person will be online.
Okay, all right. Well, let me see how I can try to get it, because we're here. All right, hold on, try to share now. Let me make sure that you guys let me know. I'll try to see if I can get it done now. Let me know if you can see my screen.
Can you see me trying to share?
Um,
No?
yes, I can now see you. Yes, so I can now see the
That
arrow.
you should be able to.
Yeah, I can now see it.
Is that you should be able to.
Yeah, so once you stop, I should be able to share now.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, can you guys see my screen now?
Yes, we can.
Yes, yes.
Okay, great. Okay, great. So today is all about nurturing the minds at work, and I'm really just going to go through the concepts of the policy in terms of intellectual wellness. And again, it's really a conversation that I'm having with you guys, and I will answer a couple of questions. So please feel free to share. All right. So when we are talking about when we're talking about intellectual wellness, we're really talking about fostering creativity and innovation in the workplace, but doing it in a way that, again, we're pulling on each other's strengths and each person feels valued and heard, because we don't want to be in a situation where I have all these great ideas. I am somebody who has been traveling, has had exposure and experience to different environments, but I'm not able to share these benefits to the organization. And we can see how over time that can cause someone to not feel their best in the environment, right? And that could lead to a lot of other spin-offs in that the person may become withdrawn, or they may not be able to function or produce the quality of work that they would need to, right? So is the ability to understand that is critical to give persons a voice to foster this creativity and innovation that we really want to push the organization forward, right? And the idea is to provide more employee satisfaction. So you want to be able to feel like I go into work and in my meetings, in my small groups, in my breakout sessions, I am able to share at a level where I feel most valued, right? Give me 1 second. Okay. And understanding intellectual wellness and is really, again, enhancing the creativity, but is more so thriving in how today's environment is. So the ability to be able to critically think, and I believe critical thinking comes from exposure to the unknown. So you're faced with a problem and you have to pull on every single thing that you know of. It may not even be from your academic background, for example, but it could be from an experience. And it's being able to pull all those thoughts together and to be able to produce the best solution to the problem. And as I said earlier, you know, thinking outside the box to solve problems that you really can't plan for. A lot of the times we go into a position in the workplace and, you know, it can seem very black and white from the job description, from how, you know, the person who was doing the onboarding explains it to you. But then when you get in the actual seat and you do the job day to day, you realize you're really faced with things that I'm not really sure how to manage. So that's where critical thinking comes in. And the ability to be able to be flexible and adaptable in these environments is very critical, but is also critical for the leaders in the organization. So the managers, the seniors, to be able to foster an environment where someone can come and share and create and ask questions in a way that they don't feel ostracized, or they don't feel that, you know, they can't be open and share or ask questions. So it's all about cultivating an environment that is really, really conducive to support and to innovation and creativity. The policy is the Barbados National Wellness Policy, and we're going to just look at some key areas within it. And it really focuses on health and productivity. And we want to look at again, I spoke about the spin-offs on workplace wellness and intellectual wellness. So if you're not feeling satisfied at work because your voice is not heard, again, this could lead to a negative relationship with work. A negative relationship with work could lead to a negative relationship in your life and moving into your lifestyle. And we know the situation in Barbados and the Caribbean around NCDs, and these are directly impacted and intertwined with our lifestyle and how we feel about our lives and our livelihood. So we're really creating this policy to be able to counteract some of these challenges persons may have, right? So we want a better workplace so that the spin-offs from a better workplace could be a better daily experience at work, which would enhance the person's lifestyle outside of work. And, you know, that just has more benefits overall for everyone, even outside of the workplace. And the idea of it is also to outline strategies to support mental, physical, and intellectual wellness. So we want to look at wellness from a standpoint, not only from the intellectual view, but more social, emotional. We want to look at physical wellness as well. And all of these combine into helping us to have a better environment for employees. So some of the key benefits of intellectual wellness, again, creativity and adaptability, and is leading towards more improved problem solving. Again, if we work in small groups, I'm not sure the extent of the group I'm speaking to in terms of what particular department or area you're in, but I know at some point we have to work in groups and we have to work with other persons within your organization. And we want to create, again, a culture where we can all be able to problem solve together, right? And I can speak also from doing group stuff is hard when you have one person in the group who is just, you know, talking or sharing all the time, and, you know, you don't necessarily get to give input, and then you feel like, you know, this was a waste of my time. This could have been an email. I didn't feel like I was included. There's a reality, right? And we cannot get the most out of what we're aiming to do if group sessions or interactions are like that, right? We want to be able to enhance the way that we communicate and that we share our ideas. And we want to be able to make sure that if we have someone who's really good in an area and another person who's strong in another area, we're able to combine and not belittle or look at somebody else as not being as proficient or better than in a particular area, but we're all looking at our individual strengths. So when we look at employee satisfaction and the impact of it, we're really focusing on how best can we have employees satisfied to a point where we are all empowered enough to share. And I will ask a question to the group, and I cannot see the text box, Mrs. Barker. So if you could unmute and read anybody that may enter in the text box. But do you feel at work in your current position that your voice is heard enough, or do you feel like you're given enough opportunity to share and to really like be influential in your meetings, but also share how you think we can make this more accessible to everyone to be able to share a level that their voice is heard? So if anyone could share on that, do you think, even if you're a manager, do you think that you provide enough opportunities? If you are not in a managerial position, do you feel that your voice is heard enough? And what can we do to kind of help foster this exchange of communication? Anyone? Do you think that yes, I got something in the chat, Ms. Barker.
Okay, I see that. Somewhat. Somebody says somewhat in my stand-alone work capacity, but my shop steward role gives me a stronger voice.
Say it again.
She says somewhat in her standalone work capacity, but
Okay.
her shop steward role gives her a stronger voice.
Okay. Thanks for sharing that. Anybody else? I think that was a good one. And in terms of the somewhat, could you share with me again, how can we, and let's say, for example, in your position, how can we make it better for somebody else who may be coming along? How did you foster your voice in our standalone position? Like, could you share a bit more information with me on that?
Hi, good morning. I think that personality-wise, I'm talkative, so I can speak out. But if you look at a person who's very shy, but has a lot to say, but may feel intimidated, I think the open meeting settings, people tend to not want to speak.
Yes.
So more team meetings, more departmental meetings, more smaller group meetings where you can share ideas and generate ideas and get feedback. But when you have a big open staff meeting 30 people and you are shy, even though you have valid contributions, you are fearful to speak.
Yeah.
So creating a forum where persons feel comfortable amid their 2 or 3 peers and then feedback that information to management. I find that when you have the team, when you do have these meetings, they stay there. The information, the suggestions stay there. So you don't see it filter back to the management and to the point where you will see it implemented. So the opportunity to speak in a smaller group setting and then have it feedback that it can actually be put into practice.
Yeah, no, that is very critical. And I thank you for sharing. In our society, intimidation, especially from persons in authority, is something that everyone is not open to sharing. And I love the idea of doing more small groups, because you could find, if you do a smaller conversation, that shy person, which a lot of people are, many people are outspoken. So having that person now develop a voice to be able to share a lot more in their comfort zone, that could only benefit the organization on a whole. And I love the feedback point of view too, because we need to be able to have those smaller voices, but then those smaller voices being echoed further up the line of command, right? So being able to see that what you have said, you know, has been considered by the management. So not just having the smaller meetings, but having a system where we know that once the leader or the manager for the small group goes forward and presents it in the meeting, their voice is also heard and recognized. So once they are heard and valued, by extension, the small group will be heard and will be valued as well. So thank you for sharing that, Kay.
We have
Anybody
another
else?
response, yes. One other person says, I try as a manager to encourage my staff as far as possible to share and be open.
Yeah, and the manager that shared that, could you give an example of how you foster that type of environment, just so other managers are on the call could also get an idea of how they could go about it?
Yes, as a nurse manager, I try to encourage the nurses to speak out, to share as much as possible. I try and keep, well, I usually use like small groups where
Okay.
persons, because as you said, some people are shy, some people feel intimidated, some people don't want to say certain things because they feel it might impact on their job and
Yes.
things like that. We know how things go in Barbados. So I encourage them as far as possible to to be able to open and share. And so far, I've not had any major problems or issues regarding that.
Okay, and thank you so much for that, Veronica. We see again the point on the reluctance to share because of a consequence that the person may think, you know, may happen. Because if you speak out on a narrative that is not in line with what is happening, for example, persons may feel like, okay, I really shouldn't have said that, you know, or I will not say this because I am not sure how this will be, you know, accepted. But I'm happy that you're fostering that environment, and trust and believe that when the persons under your charge, when they are willing and wanting to share, you've created that foundation for them to be open and to, you know, explain or share or dive deeper or even share tips or ideas. And it also takes a lot of grace from a manager to come down to the level of the persons in their charge, to be able to create that platform where, you know, you are still the person in authority. So you set boundaries as it relates to that, but also being able to have personable relationships in terms of not outside of work, but just on a work level, that someone can feel open enough to come and say, well, hey, Veronica or Mrs. Curtin, I think, you know, we could do this, or we could try this. You know, I think I'm having this particular challenge, and I've been doing some research, and I think this is an area that we could improve. And, you know, these type of conversations, it really is what drives innovation, right? Because for us as persons in certain positions, we don't know it all. Even though we're in the managerial positions, we do not know it all, right? And because we may have so many other tasks and things that we have to focus on, we may not always have the time to do the extra research or to look at the newest trends coming out. But we may have a person who's coming in or who's around, who's really into research, who's really into looking at the new trends and the new technologies that are coming out and what we could use to enhance. So it's being able to give that type of individual a platform to have those conversations. And this is where, you know, upskilling and continuous education comes in as well. So once you create that platform, it would only enhance and create a type of environment within the workplace that people feel more empowered, and empowered employees produce better work, right? So thank you guys for sharing that. And moving into enhancing adaptability skills. So adaptability skills really are such that, again, we embrace the change. We are open to change. we are really looking towards how can I do what I did yesterday? How can I make it better today? Right? And for us in Barbados, change is very hard. When I say change is hard, I mean coming into a space where I operate, the work I'm doing has not been done the way I'm doing it before. And creating and getting people to buy into my product, to buy into what I'm doing, it took a lot of work because we're so traditional in Barbados and in Caribbean. So anything that goes beyond tradition sometimes can feel like a threat. Sometimes it could feel like, no, we don't want this. We've always been doing it this way. So we're going to stick to doing it this way. And we can see how the other countries who have adopted a more open mindset, we can see how they're progressing, you know? We can look at any sector that we have in Barbados and compare it to the developed countries and see how they are progressing. Yes, capital and funding is more in those countries, but also the open-mindedness to do with the resources that you have, right? And sometimes our tradition keeps us back a bit. So having the mindset of being more open, having or learning more adaptable skills. So that's where the upskilling and the continuous education comes in. And this helps you to now view your landscape completely different, right? And once you view it differently, you then it becomes easier for you to change and create more environments where you can now be more successful because you've changed the way how you've been doing a task, for example, right? So what we want to do is to have a way more open mindset and to look and seek out ways to learn. So there's also a platform here that we have locally, NTI. You know, they have a lot of free courses that we can use to upskill in a particular area. And the sectors that they cover is vast, right? So being able to tap into the free resources that we have available to us to be able to enhance our learning. And I think this type of approach will only make each and every sector better within the government. Any questions or comments before we move on? Nothing. Okay. All right, so we're going to talk quickly about the 4E framework, and the 4 elements of it would be educate, enable, engage, encourage, and it's all about fostering intellectual wellness at work. So when we look at the educate and inform, we want to provide the necessary training and resources. So again, having access to, again, I mentioned the free courses that NTI would offer to Barbadians, right? And this is a great free way to get into it. But there are a lot of other ways that we can also, find other ways. So doing more workshops, being able to have someone who is really versed in technology, for example, to just run a workshop and educate the others on things that they should be aware of, different skills that they can learn. And I believe we have enough talent. We have enough expertise in the Caribbean, in Barbados for sure, to be able to fix the deficits or to correct the deficits that we have, right? And it's just to figure out who is who. And by having conversations and understanding person's interests, what they're really good at, and then basing that on the jobs they're in, we can create our own in-house way of, being better, right? Sometimes I think we try to look outside a little too much, but first we need to figure out who do we have in our organization that could provide some of these insights and skills, right? So we want to ensure that we have a confident workplace, and you can only be confident if you're educated and experienced in the area. So if I were to tell someone, okay, you're going now to present to a group of, let's say a random sector, and you have 10 minutes to prepare, you're going to feel, you're not going to be as confident because it's not an area that you feel good about. It's not an area that you're well versed in. So imagine when you step into your workforce and you know for sure the knowledge level or the education base that you have and the openness to learning is at a high level, you can only succeed and be confident in your position, right? We want to enable growth, and we enable growth by creating an environment that supports learning And again, as I said, empowered employees produce the best work, right? We want our employees to be able to feel as valued participants. We want them to be able to have a voice and to be engaged and to be able to produce the best work that we know they can. We want to engage the employees, and we want to do this by fostering participation and collaboration. So having a lot more smaller team meetings, as mentioned before, as opposed to the large meetings. Yes, we do. There is a place for the large meetings, but if we are trying to drive innovation, if we are trying to brainstorm or solve a problem, then we need to do it in smaller silos where we can meet in those groups and have really in-depth conversations. And then we come together as a collective, and then we echo the voices from the small groups. And this is a way that each person feels like I had a part to play in developing this policy. I had a part to play in solving this problem, right? So we want as many persons within the organization to have that type of feeling, you know, and that worthiness or that idea of contribution, you know, that can go a long way. So we want to be able to hear the voices from our employees as much as possible as it relates to creating or contributing to organizational success. They want to encourage curiosity. So you want to promote a culture where, again, is very innovative to thinking and celebrate it. So for example, we may have a small group, and within that small group, we had someone who was very vocal, who is not normally vocal. So the persons that, was it Kay? Kay mentioned, you know, maybe a bit shy. And we want to be able to now enhance that person's ability to be more open by celebrating the fact that, you know, they were open. And we don't need to necessarily do it in a way that is a big, massive fanfare within the organization, because some people may not love that. But even starting it from a point of view where you go to that person and you celebrate them within the small group, and, you know, find out from them if this is something that they would like to be shared on a wider scale. And then you promote that celebration on a wider scale. But the idea is to encourage more of that from that particular individual who was shy, because we clearly see that this individual has a lot to give, right? So you want to be able to encourage curiosity, encourage innovative thinking. And the idea of encouraging curiosity also focuses on, how can I solve this problem? Like, what can I do? And that pattern of thinking around all problems will create more success, because you're now looking at it not as a problem, but a way to create a solution. And once we are more solution-minded and oriented, when we're faced with problems, it becomes a lot easier to navigate. Any questions or comments based on the 4 E's? So we want to educate, we want to enable growth, we want to engage all employees, and we want to encourage curiosity. Anything in the chat, Mrs. Barker?
Nothing further.
Okay, thank you. I'll
Okay.
go. And when we look at the strategies for wellness, we want to look at learning opportunities. So we may have, let's say, for example, new employees coming into the workforce, and we want to look at how best can we help these individuals to, you know, expand in knowledge or to be able to be proficient in the space. And I know, well, I hope most sectors will have an onboarding process and that kind of thing, but it's how do we equip each employee with the best tools to be able to proficiently get their job done, right? And what opportunities can we afford them to be able to get the job done in a more efficient manner? So as a manager, for example, you may see a workshop come out in your email, for example, and you're like, I think John may be a really good candidate for this workshop. And you know, you provide John with the opportunity to go and to have this experience. And when John completes that experience, you know, come back now and share with his department, or share or provide or create a presentation on how or what he learned from that particular workshop, right? And what that can do is, one, it prepares John to be a leader. It prepares John to be better at communicating and being able to to teach others. And what it does for the others now, we as a workforce, we now have awareness, even though it may not be in our particular area, awareness of this particular thing or workshop that John has done, right? And if I may have a question in that particular area, I know, well, okay, John may be the point person that I can go to. So it's just fostering these type of relationships within the organization. And then as a manager, it helps you to manage your team a lot better because now they're way more empowered, right? And you could focus a lot more on your managerial task, and it helps you to manage the group a lot better because each person now has become more equipped and they're more confident in their roles, right? And once all of this is working together, we can then look at enhancing the overall success of the organization. When we look at providing resources for intellectual wellness in the workplace, we look at offering resources and support. So again, we had a manager, I can't remember, I know Veronica for sure, but someone else spoke to me about creating platforms. I can't remember the name right now.
That was Case Stout. I
Case
believe.
Stout. Yes, Case Stout. And I think for that, creating that platform of support within a team, and Veronica as well, do not underestimate the power that brings and the type of relationship you form with that individual. Because I have conversations a lot with my colleagues who are working in different environments, and I would hear about, you know, a manager or someone who is very condescending, or, you know, they never listen, or they always feel like they know it all. And, you know, the voice of the employee shrinks and shrinks and shrinks until they're so nonchalant about the job that they just attend the meetings because they have to, right? And that puts more strain on you as a manager because no, your team is not working for you, right? And that could become a really toxic environment when your team is not in support of you. And you always want to be able to lead a group of persons who believe in you first and foremost as a leader, and they're willing to, you know, go the extra mile. So if you say we need to stay on a little longer, or we need to, you know, they're doing it because of your leadership. They're doing it because of how your relationship has been fostered with them. They're doing it because of you giving them value and a voice, right? So this type of thinking is what we need to create more support, and then providing the resources. So you're not only providing the platform, but you're saying, hey, John, here's this workshop. Hey, John, here's this here's this document you can read that I think will help you with this problem. So you're not only laying out the tasks that the employees may have to do for this example, but you're also providing a toolkit that they can be successful. And this ultimately will help your job become a lot easier, and you'll be able to manage your group a lot better. Anything in the chat?
Yes, we do. We have Allison Smith,
Okay.
and she says, I really like the idea that the Learning Development Unit of the government has made a facility for self-directed courses, which are offered to the government standard, but which persons, as with the NTI courses, can attempt without having to seek supervisory or management endorsement.
Yeah, I think that is critical, because when we, especially with the
And
self-pay,
Kay adds to that, when you,
go on, sorry.
sorry, I was just finishing what Kay said, and she said, when you own what you do, you give
Yes.
your best if you feel that you have vested interest in the project.
Yeah, and you have to buy in. There has to be a buy-in. And if there is not a buy-in, the train is going to be off the rails, you know? Everybody needs to buy in and own it. This is not Kay's project. This is our project, right? And we're giving everything that we have to make sure that this project is the best project that we can produce. And going back to the learning environment, I think it is great that we as a country, we really appreciate education. We really appreciate continuous learning and upskilling. And I think the fact that it's so widely accepted and provided for now, way more than before, I think is a great thing for employees. You know, I think it's something that we need to take advantage of, because once you have the knowledge, no one could take it from you. You know, once it is there, nobody can take it from you, and it could only be beneficial. I always say, when you learn something, it could benefit you not only for your job, but it translates into different areas of life. And when you're more rounded in terms of your education and understanding and experience, overall, holistically, you become a better person. So being able to tap into these resources that we have, being able to make persons aware of these type of resources also, you know, this is what creates a holistic or a workforce-wide type of learning and production. Because if all of us are aware of these tools and we have access to them, and we encourage each other, hey, John, did you finish up your project? You know, how much longer do you have? Could we sit at lunchtime and go through it together? You know, this type of collaboration will help persons to feel more motivated to be able to complete stuff like this, because everyone is not open to pushing themselves. So they like to do stuff in groups. So if we could all come together as a small group and do a course together, or we do 3 different courses in a group of 3, but we're sitting and we're doing it together. You know, we're having that type of community and we're pushing each other to get it done. You know, this could only foster a way better environment for all of us. And we need to do that a lot more within our settings. I'm seeing some questions.
Yeah, we have some more comments in the chat.
Okay, go on.
You want me to go ahead?
Yes, please.
Okay. Allison Smith says, and this allows a certain percentage of persons sufficient opportunity to push through on a 4E framework, as we have discussed. And Veronica says, managers should learn that they do not know everything, and they should have a spirit of humility. This augurs well for good work relationships. Kay also says that she likes the idea of all public servants having the email address which access all missed blasts. Information is open to everyone and you can feel included. And this is a section few who know about courses. It is a section few who know about courses and scholarships, etc.
So
it is not a section few. That's what she means. Yes, I was wondering there. So it's not just a section few, but everybody has access to these courses that come through. And Allison says, unfortunately, all do not have that access to the blast, even though they may have the government email. So make sure that you shared and discuss the blast as they pop up in case anyone misses them. So I think she might be saying here that you should share with your staff as a manager.
Yeah. So can either of the 2 last persons who have commented explain to us what is a missed blast? I'm not within the sector, so I would not know about it. And also for persons who may not know about it on this call, if you could just unmute and just share what you know about it, so that again we raise awareness of these type of resources that we can have access to.
Well, since I raised it, the missed blast, the Ministry of Industry, Science and Technology, they send out information courses that like such as this that we're on now. Before in the old method, when courses come up, it was circularized on a file, and only certain people would have access to know about certain courses. So you have to be in the office, and so if you're the maid or the driver messenger, you don't gonna know about these courses or scholarships or anything like that. You have to used to come on a file and you sign your name that you saw it. But now you have the Miss Blast, all information, whether it is like Spirit of the Nation, things happening, crop over events, things happening in the community, we gathering, courses, missed course, notifications, scholarships, everything goes out in the
Like a hub.
blast. It's a
Okay.
blast, like a broadcast, have a
Right.
WhatsApp broadcast. So everybody, the maid, the driver messenger, everybody that has a government email address, they will get the information. So you might say that I'm only a maid, so I can't do this course, but you might have a daughter or in the service, that they'll be able to recommend or the scholarships. You might say,
Yeah.
well, my daughter soon finish school, she could apply for social scholarship. So it allows persons access.
Yeah.
Normally, that would have been for sectionalized people, because there were some people who would just hide the file, and only
Yeah.
certain people can see what is happening. And you hear about this course, they say, why they name with this course, but only a few select few. But now with the blast, I'm saying that everyone don't get it, but I thought everyone get. I don't know about the statutory boards, but I know central government, everybody, once you access your email, you can get information about courses such as these. So it's not only the PSs and the heads that see it, everyone sees it. So it levels the playing field. And in terms of the E part of the acronym, but the education part, it
Yeah.
allows people to be aware of what is happening, what is out there. So I think that was a wonderful idea where email addresses aren't just for the office staff, but everybody that's employed, the general worker, everybody
Yeah.
can access the information. And that's critical. That's a good
Yeah.
start.
As you said, is an excellent start because you have now made the provisions to empower the entire workforce, as you said, not just the managers, but also the ancillary staff within the workforce too. And once we can all step it up a notch in terms of where we're at, we can see the production levels can only start to rise and rise and rise, because now you as an individual, you know that you keep going a step above. You're always a step ahead of the curve. And once you have the mindset of always being a step ahead of the curve, your work, your interact, like it will always be there. And it goes beyond also focusing on your work tasks, but looking at stuff to improve your managing your emotions, being able to, work on your mental health, courses on how to, manage in these different environments. So don't only look at upskilling as targeted to your work, but also around your entire lifestyle, because ultimately that also impacts your work, right? So I am very happy to hear about this, and I hope that everyone can have access to it, because it could only promote better production of work. It could again speak to this intellectual wellness, and it focuses on the education bit of the 4 E's. We really want to be able to provide the resources and empower as much employees as possible. All right. Something else in the chat?
Yes, Arlene just mentioned that what Allison was saying was true, or it was key. That
Okay.
sometimes you send courses off that you're interested in, and you don't hear anything back. Only when they want to attend what they want to send you to. Only when, so maybe she's saying yes, only when they want you to attend something, they will send you. But when you send in some things on your own, sometimes you don't hear anything back about whether you would get through with the course or not.
Okay. Well, that is a line of communication kind of system that we will need to work on, where we have, again, because if we're providing, and this is what we spoke about, the feedback channels too. So if we are providing these opportunities and people are reaching out, who is managing those persons reaching out, so we want to be able to provide these resources and access, but also to be able to manage that filtering in of the access. So if John decides to do a course and he reaches out, hey, I would like to be able to access this course, we want to be able to have a system in place where a link is provided based on what John said, and then is using AI and stuff to kind of create these type of systems where as soon as you say you're interested, the link is there. As soon as you say you want to do XYZ, the platform is there for you to go. So it makes it a lot more seamless, and especially for persons who are not accustomed to doing stuff like this, when they do not get the access, it kind of deters them from even trying, because it's like, why even try if they won't even respond to me or give me the access into the actual program. So we want to be able to, again, provide the resources, but also be able to make sure that everyone actually has access to said resources. And this is just breaking down the ease, engaging employees efficiently. So we spoke about a lot of this, doing more workshops, doing more brainstorming sessions, more collaboration, more small groups, more small problem solving. And I always find that working in groups, especially coming from a sporting background, I had to operate within a team. And as much as I wanted to do things on my own, I still had to factor in that I had players around me that I needed to get the job done, right? And being and having more a team-oriented approach, it really amplifies the impact, right? And as I said in the beginning, when you understand the different strengths and experiences of different people, and I know John is really good at tech, I know Amy is really good at administration, I know this person is good at Excel, we pull on the different strengths and we work together to get the stuff done, right? And we kind of share the load. I think that's something that is very important too. Sharing the load within reason, of course, but understanding that one person does not need to do it all, right? The more we can do information sharing, the more we can provide more resources, you make the other person's work a little easier. And by extension, the project, the task, we can finish it a lot faster, right? And brainstorming for me is very important. You know, it could be as simple as we sit in a room, there's a whiteboard, we have our sticky notes, we put the problem there and we just sit and talk about how we can. And it does not always have to be as formal, but just bouncing ideas off of each other, you know. Sometimes someone can say something and it sends off a switch in your brain and you're like, this is what I was thinking about, or this is something that we can do. And in that moment, if that person had not shared it, it wouldn't have resonated with you. So being able to provide more environments like this can be really beneficial to the entire organization. And obviously encouraging for success. So we want to create the encouraging atmosphere. So the shy person that was able to share, we want to celebrate that. The persons who did not feel as happy or open to sharing and they did, yeah, we want to create safe spaces for persons. We want to make persons feel as comfortable, as confident as possible, right? We want everyone to feel heard and understood, right? And also being able to make sure that there's no judgment-free zones as much as possible within the workplace, because that helps people to feel like there's a home away from home, is an area that, you know, I can feel free to share and to engage. But once persons feel that bit of judgment, and in Barbados, some of that is very easy. We cast judgment real fast. You know, if somebody doesn't speak a certain way, if somebody has they don't fit the mold of what we consider to be the prim and proper kind of person that we want, we kind of cast some judgment towards certain things. But what I've learned over time is to give people chances to you know, show who they are. Everyone may not be able to speak proper, everyone may not be able to do certain things, but their individual strengths bring value, right? And it's to highlight and get that value from them regardless of. So it's to be able to have some grace as an individual and to kind of pass it on to others, to be able to feel comfortable and to be able to, you know, be as encouraged as possible. Because once you're encouraged, you become more confident. Once you're more confident, you produce better work. So being able to do more activities like this, having more interactive workshops, really can spark the creativity and thinking, and overall to, you know, provide the employees with a toolkit or a way to tackle different scenarios. And I'm really happy that I have the opportunity to share with you guys on something like this, because in my work, creativity is at the forefront and collaboration is at the forefront. I work a lot with children, especially between the ages of 3 and 5 with autism, and understanding how someone's brain works that is so different from the average person. For me, it takes a lot of strategy, a lot of creativity to be able to engage that person in a way to pull the potential and the values out of them. And it is not easy. So each day I have to continuously be thinking and creating new things to engage a person, especially with a condition like autism. So for example, it's just continuously being in a state of problem solving, continuously being in a state of being solution-minded. So I see a child respond this way, I know I can't do this, I know I need to go a different route. I know that I do this activity, the child may respond really well to it. So this is something that I know I can build on. So it's just looking at problems and seeing a solution and seeing a way how to make it better, collaborating with parents, collaborating with other professionals on how best can we help this child. And this is my day every day. So for me to be able to share with you guys, to let you know that working in groups, collaborating, being able to think critically and problem solve, it gets the job done, right? It really gets the job done. Brainstorming is another way, again, as I said earlier, to really help to foster that collaboration and that freedom of sharing ideas and that bringing out the confidence in persons to have a voice. And brainstorming does that. Remember, it doesn't need to be as formal. We could have sticky notes, we could have a whiteboard, we could have a text chat forum. We could do it in different ways, but the idea is we pose the problem and we start to use our individual strengths to see how we can best tackle the problem. Have an innovation hour at work. This is a good idea in that we can make this into a very fun activity. Have prizes, and this again form and foster camaraderie within the group. But it's how best can we innovate for this particular hour on this particular problem. And I think having stuff like this helps to really create a good environment for production. Book clubs, so there are persons who really love to read, who love to research, and some persons may not like to read and research. So joining a book club could help them to kind of look at it in a different way, as not boring or as not something that is a chore, but something that, you know, will help you to evolve as an individual. And it's always how we frame stuff. I have a colleague who, she's really good at math, and the way how she talks about math, you would swear she's talking about something that, you know, is like so joyous and fun. And when I speak to her about math, I start to feel like, hey, I maybe like math too, because of how you are relating it to me. And it's how we structure and how we word stuff, you know, giving people a different perspective, helping them to understand it from a different angle that may be traditional. These are different ways that we could encourage persons, right? And once we can kind of tailor it to suit our group, so understanding where the group is at and not doing stuff that may be out of line or out of ability of the group, for example, you know, make it really targeted and tailored to who you have within your care. And adapting to change, one of the hardest things to do in Barbados is really understanding that the world is moving and we have to move. If we don't move, we will be left behind. And it's something that the faster we adopt and adapt to, the better we will become, you know. We cannot deny the fact that AI is taking over. We cannot deny the fact that technology has been moving and will continue to move. So we cannot operate in a space where we are not acknowledging that, right? To not acknowledge it will be to put yourself, as I said, behind. So it's how best can we use these tools? How best can we bring awareness to our employees about these tools? How can we look at these tools not as a threat, but as a way to help us to progress? And how fast we could advance the things that we do, right? So I look at AI as a tool to help to get my thoughts across faster, or to help me to, you know, do tasks that I may not be able or may not have to spend as much brain power on. And then the stuff that I need to spend the brain power on, I have more time and energy to focus on that. So it's about creating and using AI to manage your systems, to manage the workflow, so that ultimately you have the time to critically think and to be able to utilize it in a way that you become the best version required for your position. How do you guys feel about AI and technology right now in your workspace? Is a question to the group. Oops. Anyone willing to share how they feel about AI in the workplace? Do you see it as an advantage? Do you see it as a threat? Do you see it as something that we should not adopt? We should adopt? This is a very controversial topic. I was expecting to have a little more responses on this one. Anything?
It has its pros and cons.
Okay, good. Pros and cons. Can you share with me some of the cons?
I think that cons and disadvantages, right?
Yeah.
Okay, well, you hear people speak of job loss. If it is the case, AI can do things that a person would normally have been given a job to do. Then that's a concern, especially for me as a shop steward. So things like the receptionist, off the top of my head, I can think of a receptionist job becoming extinct, where you could have personalized automated things, so job loss would be a disadvantage. Also losing that human element. I still think it would make your job easier, yes, but then there's certain jobs that require that personalized, as opposed to picking to a machine, or you need a personal. I mean, you got robots too, but still, we know that they're not people.
Yeah.
So you still need that personal element in like social services, dealing with sensitive issues. That is my concern, that the personal element goes.
Yeah.
Yes. So I would see those two as the negatives.
And those are very real responses that you gave,
Yeah.
real realities, because
Mm.
the way the technology is advancing, you may be talking to AI and you don't even know you're talking to AI. That's the way it's developing now. But I do agree that having that personal touch to it, that understanding to certain situations, especially sensitive situations, I think is definitely something that is required. But what I can say is we know the AI wave is coming, right? And not coming, but it's here. And you have to take the initiative to say, when AI is fully here, how can I secure my role? Like, how can I upskill? What can I do to stay ahead of this AI curve? How can I learn AI, right? And we may see it as being daunting, but honestly, learning it is not as difficult because it's been broken down in a way that you can understand the platforms a lot easier now. So it is the mindset of, I know it is coming. I cannot wait till it is here to start to upskill. I need to start upskilling now. So when it does arrive, I am proficient enough to move or stay in my current role, but at a higher level, right? And again, it's having the access to these tools that you can start from now, to push yourself, to upskill, to take the time to dive into different things, because you cannot neglect the fact that it is coming, right? And we need to be ready. We need to be ready for it. Thanks for sharing, Kay. Any more in the chat?
Yes, we have some more comments in the chat.
Okay.
Sheila says that I'm slowly coming around to accepting that AI will be, or should I say, is a part of the work environment. Veronica says the younger workforce are readily adapting to digitization and AI. And she agrees with Kay that there is the risk of losing that personal touch.
Yeah.
Allison says that she is in agreement with Kay. We still need to appreciate the personal in everything where AI is concerned, and
Yeah, volleyball.
case is to be proactive.
Yes, and I agree, and we need to understand too. We are in different age ranges, right? So the Gen Zs came up only in technology, so for them it's like they do not see another way other than digitization. I'm a millennial, and I had some parts of my life where technology was not as great. And then I lived through the time where technology is where it's at now. So I do have the understanding of it has its place, but then I do have some knowledge from before where I knew we were doing a lot without the technology. And then the older age group, you guys, well, most persons here would know that, yeah, we need this part, right? We need to have this personal part of it because you can see how it could all go wrong. Whereas the Gen Zs will be like, this is the only way, right? So we need to be able to mesh the different age gaps and to understand that each place is important. I think what they're trying to do now in the AI space is to make it a lot more humanized, I would say, to make sure that they do kind of cater for the areas that we're speaking about. But
Just thinking.
at the same time,
Wow.
we still cannot neglect the fact that we need people, right? We need people, and as much as the technology is getting good, we always need people. Anything else? Somebody unmuted just now. Wait, did you have something to say? Somebody is unmuted right now. Okay. Any more comments on that? As I said, this is a very controversial topic, and is something that, yeah, we can't continue to neglect. So when we are talking about adapting to change, is to embrace the digital transformation. It is coming, it is here. So developing the skills to equip the employees, to equip managers, to be able to navigate the evolving landscape of technology, right? And every 2 years, technology has to improve. It has to improve. That is a principle with fintech. So every 2 years, there will be something different coming out, right? So it's to always stay on top of the game. And that staying on top of the game may look like just looking at a course, doing one course every year, for example. And a lot of the courses are really self-paced now. So you don't have a timeline where you have to complete it in 3 weeks. You know, you have over a year sometimes to complete courses. So you could really come home and do it. I know a lot of persons have families, you have different things you have going on. So you can really set your schedule to kind of suit a self-paced course. And that's why I love them so much, because you can do it in your own time, right? You want to leverage artificial intelligence. So we cannot deny it enhances our productivity, right? But we want to be able to use it not to think for us in terms of critical thinking, but to help us to get our points across. So, and get it across faster. I lecture at that, at UE, and I gave my students an assignment. And when I checked the feedback from the reports on the AI, it was 100% AI for most of the reports. And I told them, I am not outside of what you guys do. I am still young, and I know AI can be used for school reports. So I had to let them know you use AI as a tool, not to write for you, right? Because I know how you speak, I know how you communicate, I know your voice, I know your tone. So when I read something from you and I know this is not you, right? So we want to use it to help us as a tool, but not to think and critically think for us. You should still be the person in charge of the thoughts. You're just using the AI to help you curtail it a little better, but your thought should still be forefront of what AI is producing, right? We want to be able to cultivate a curious mindset. How can I solve this problem? What else can I do? What are other sectors doing overseas that I may be able to, pull something from? So it's just being curious about several things, and that helping you to explore and create new solutions. I want to foster lifelong learning. So we want to provide opportunities for continuous learning. I love the Miss Blast. I think that is something that everyone should have access to. and I hope that we can utilize it within our divisions or sectors. Anything in the chat? I saw a little thing went off.
Yeah, sure. Yasmin, she said that AI
Yes.
is a great advantage for work, especially for individuals who handle a repetitive task and may
Yes. I-
lack support from colleagues. And with the
I-
information to use, use your discretion with the information, provided because it's designed to assist your thought process, not replace them.
Yes, that is critical. Yes, that is it, right? We want it to be able to assist. It is assisting us, but not
Yeah.
the main focus, right? That's how we should utilize the tool.
Kay also says more information on AI is needed at all levels. In the
Yes.
work, school, church, etc. Education is the key.
100%. And that's well within line the 4 E's. And we want to, again, I spoke about fostering the culture of curiosity. And this is something that we need to develop, even from a personal standpoint. I look at things and I'm like, how does this work? And even for my kids, when I say my kids, the persons that I work with, they're so curious about everything. And they always try to figure out how something works. And for me, having that type of mindset, you can only learn and learn and learn and learn, because if you're continuously questioning everything around it, it's like, okay, why does this do this? How does it do that? How can I get it to do this? So having that mindset drives innovation, because you then create a really open mind to taking information and to figure out a lot more about what is around you. And always we're looking at creating leaders, and the managers like Veronica and Kay, you know, I'm really happy to hear from you guys, and I want you to create leaders within your group as well, persons that you can, you know, have there to support you in a point of view. And there are different qualities that you pick up in persons very early, and we want to kind of foster that and help them to build on that, right? Create an environment for safe ideas and always have an open dialogue, right? Have persons being able to exchange their thoughts. And we spoke about this throughout the presentation today, and that enhances creativity within the workplace. And we want to be able to use different things to track, so different indicators, and we want to be able to say, okay, well, this week, and again, this also does not need to be as formal. Huh? It could be, we did a small group for this week, and we realized that from this small group, we were able to solve the problem within, let's say, a week that was scheduled to be completed in 3 weeks, right? So the indicator definitely could be the time that we were able to get that done, right? So then we could use that as a metric to say, okay, when it comes to this type of problem, we know that we could get this done in a week with collaboration. So let's try to do more collaborative work so that we could continue to get tasks like this completed a lot faster, right? And then we want to be able to, oops, sorry guys. Let me, sorry about that. We want to be able now to look at some scenarios where we can use different scenarios to help us to be able to foster intellectual wellness and to help us to engage all the staff in a way that, you know, we can provide the best practices around everything that we do within the workspace. So an example could be, we have a task to do, and we really want to be able to get this task done in, let's say, as I said it earlier, in a week, right? But we want to be able to collaborate as a group. And I really want us to look at this as a way of how Veronica said in the beginning, to create that platform to have your staff be able to speak to you in a way that they feel free. And this ultimately will help you to be able to solve a lot more problems, right? And when I have a list of workplace seeing it on the slide, but I'll talk about it. Different things that we can do. So we spoke about having stuff like the brainstorming sessions, the innovation hour. We could do more things like a hackathon where we work together to solve a problem. We could have a pitch test. So I remember doing one, and we had 2 minutes to sell a product to an investor. And within that 2 minutes, you had to highlight everything about what is good about your product. And it became, the thought of it was easy. Oh, we could talk about this, we could talk about that. But to do all of that in 2 minutes, you know, it helps you to really focus on the key areas. So having different things like that around problems, we're going to do a pitch contest to solve a problem. And a problem will be a real case scenario. And we just have some prizes, have some different tokens. So, you know, you win a spa date to some place, or you win a getaway or stay, you know, like something that the staff can have access to. And again, it doesn't have to be something major like that, but we want to drive the process of innovation, and we want to drive the process of working more efficient, right? And working more efficient within groups and within the workplace. So providing more incentives and initiatives for persons to have access to focus on these type of activities. And then you can look at it from a global standpoint, where we know in some sectors you have to follow a global standard, right? Or a best practice standard. So you know the boundaries of this activity is within the standards that we need to follow. So you know the content and the ideas that you're getting will be directly related to what you need to use for your workplace anyway, right? So all of these activities kind of foster a really good environment for production and for employees to feel we're more encouraged to come into work, right? I see a lot of persons who say they live the same day every day. And for a lot of persons I know in the corporate world, that could become really easy to do. You know, you come in, you know what tasks you have to do, you do it, you go, and then you kind of live the life of a robot, more or less. And what we want to do is to create an environment where people want to come into work. You know, people want to be there because the conversations that we have are always stimulating. The activities that we do are always stimulating. And being able to kind of reframe the way we work will help us to foster that kind of environment where people want to be a part of the association or the organization, sorry. And for example, I know a majority of persons are on Instagram. If you look at Carter's, the way how Carter's has their social media marketing, the way how they have kind of prepared their marketing strategies, people want to be involved with Carter's because of that kind of approach to how they're looking at working. And the staff at Carter's, you know, they also want to go into work to be a part of that. I'm not saying you have to necessarily go and create a marketing scheme or something like that, but I'm saying it's creating the environment that your staff wants to be there. They feel welcome, they feel wanted, they feel valued, they feel heard. And this will help persons to have a better idea of who they are in the workplace, what they're supposed to give, the levels they should be working at. And this will lead towards helping them to become better people. And the intellectual wellness side of their health, you know, you're managing that at work because they really want to be a part of your team, right? And just in conclusion, we looked at intellectual wellness is really essential for building resilience, for organizational success, and we need it for the rapidly changing environment because life is becoming way more dynamic than ever before. We have a lot more on our plates than before, so we have to be able to manage it. And the best way to manage these things are from a group or team perspective, right? Prioritize lifelong learning. The MIS Blast, I think, is amazing. Let's utilize it as much as possible and educate your employees about it as well. And if you have access to that file that Kay spoke about and you're a manager, you know, don't keep it to yourself. Try to share it to persons that you think it may benefit, or to share it on a whole so that people have access to it. And be curious, people. Be curious in a way that you always want to find out ways in how best to get a job done, how best to become better. That curiosity and thinking drives innovation, right? And always take action. And it will always boost productivity once we have intellectual wellness at the forefront, and wellness on the whole at the forefront, I should say. And by empowering our staff, enhancing employee satisfaction, creating critical thinkers is a win-win scenario. You know, we all can benefit from intellectual wellness. We all can benefit from fostering a really good environment for work. And it starts with the managers, and the managers filter down to the employees. Employees, it also filters down to you to have your own groups in that you push each other, you know, you do a course together, set an hour aside after work to focus on a course or to do a run club, or, you know, do different things that we can be better at our jobs on a day-to-day basis, right? And I want to thank you guys for listening to me today. This is the end of my presentation. And I will know, and I saw another comment in the chat, so let Mrs. Barker read that. And then I
Yes.
will open for question and answer.
Okay. She was Sheila Grisette, and she said that sharing initiatives in the public sector is not presently integrated enough into our work culture.
Mhm.
Initiatives tend to be localized and kept undercover.
Yeah. And as I said, in this last point, is a win-win scenario. If we share the opportunities, if we share the resources, we can only get better, you know? And we need to have it more as a culture to share opportunities across sectors, right? To share opportunities to different people, because it can only benefit us, you know? Thanks for sharing that. Anybody else?
Mm. Persons are saying thank you for the presentation.
Okay, no problem. No problem at all. It was a pleasure talking to you guys. I always like to share my knowledge in different areas. So even sharing with you today, it was something new for me. But I am happy that you guys engaged. You made it a lot easier for me to present to you. So I thank you for listening to me. And yeah, I will look forward to hopefully speaking to you again in some capacity. And yeah, thank you for listening. No problem at all. Any questions? If anyone has any questions for me before we close off.
Someone wants to know if we can get a copy of the presentation.
Yes, I could send the a PDF. I will send it to Miss Farley.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Devonish. I appreciate that coming from you for sure. Thank you.
Mhm.
All right, guys, if there are no more questions, I would leave it to Mrs. Barker to close off.
Okay, thank you so much. This was an excellent presentation, if I may say so. And I'm sure everyone feels that way, and very good interaction. So thank you all for being here, and thank you so much, Mr. Rudder, for your presentation. I just want to let you all know that the next webinar will focus on environmental wellness, and that is scheduled to be held on Wednesday, the 27th of August. So with that said, I wish you all a wonderful afternoon.
Bye, guys.
Thank you, likewise.